There are 5 mistakes that you will see people make at the poker table that literally scream, "Hey guys, I'm a fish, come take my money." And throughout my entire professional poker career, anytime I see somebody do the 5 things that I'm going to show you in today's video, I mark that player as a fish right away. I target them. I know that's the player I'm going to make the money against. Let's jump into it. All right, guys. So fishy poker mistake number 1. This one is actually so obvious, I almost didn't even want to include it on this list. That is limping into the pot. Now, limping is when you just call the big blind before the flop in poker. Let me give you an example, as I will throughout all 5 of the egregious poker mistakes in this video. You are playing in a $1, $2 cash game, and 3 people just call the $2. They limp into the pot. Now, guys, I have talked about this so many times here on the channel, how this is a massive mistake. And in fact, in my first poker book, Crushing the Micro Stakes, I literally laid out the evidence for the entire world to see. I showed samples over millions of my own hands in online poker, proving beyond any shadow of a doubt that raising when you enter the pot, it doesn't matter what hand you have, it doesn't matter what game you're playing in, it is significantly more profitable to always raise and take charge. It is crazy to me that still today, a lot of people still do not understand this fundamental concept of the game, but hey, that's why poker is so profitable. So you're sitting there on the button, the best seat ever created in poker, with Jack 8 of diamonds. What should you do? Well, guys, I'm just gonna jack it up to like $20 here. Honestly, whatever amount is ideally going to get me one caller when I see all of this free money on the table. And make no mistake, that is absolutely what this is. When 3 people limp into the pot, they just call the $2. That's free money. I don't even look at that as anything else except somebody dropped their money on the table, and now it's just up to me to go pick it up. So if you have any kind of playable hand at all, and I would say that Jack 8 of diamonds, not an amazing hand, but it is playable. By the way, if you want to know what hands I play in all situations, I have charts and diagrams in my free poker cheat sheet. There'll be a link to that in the description below. But Jack 8, definitely on the button, decent enough. Raise these players up, take down all that free money, and even if someone calls you, we're going to make a continuation bet on the flop anyways, and we'll probably win the pot then. So this is just an absolute way to print money against these bad players at the poker table. Let's move on to fishy poker mistake number 2, and that is donk betting. Now, donk betting is another classic fishy poker mistake. So let's get into the example here. You raise it up with ace king, an amazing hand, of course, ace of hearts, king of spades, and a fish calls you. Flop comes down with the 9 of spades, 4 of clubs, and 4 of hearts. They lead into you. They make a big donk bet into you. Now, what on earth are they possibly representing on this board? The board is 9-4-4. Guys, there's nothing going on this board. There's no straight draws on this board. There's no flush draws. It's 9-4-4. There's nothing going on here. So what should you do? Guys, just make the call here. We have the nut no pair hand. That is what ace king is in this situation. If they have any other unpaired hand, ace jack, king jack, queen 8, 6, 7, any of these hands, we beat them all. In fact, we are a massive favorite against all of these hands, and this represents the majority of their range. Even if they have a pair, even if they happen to have a 9, which is only a small percentage of their range. Remember, we're always looking at ranges in poker, and that is the entire spectrum of hands that anyone can have in any situation. Even if they have that hand, we still have 2 strong overcards. There are 3 remaining aces in the deck, and there were also 3 remaining kings in the deck, which will almost certainly make us the best hand. So guys, this is a classic situation where you just want to call. By the way, we're going to be bluffing on many other cards as well, like a queen, jack, or a 10. I've covered that in multiple other videos, but let's jump into fishy poker mistake number 3, and that is sandbagging a big hand. So guys, this is one of my personal all-time favorites. It honestly cracks me up every single time. It's the old pop you on the river. So let me give you an example once again. You raise it up with pocket 8s, 8 of diamonds, 8 of clubs, and a fishy player calls you. So the flop comes down with another one of these harmless kind of nothing burger flops, a king 5-5, once again rainbow, and rainbow means there's no possible flush draw. So you you make a bet, they call. There's not really any reason to screw around here. Again, I've discussed this in many other videos. We're up against one player, a fishy player, a harmless board. Just make a bet. There's no reason not to. We've got pocket eights. Once again, the chance that this player has a king, that's just a very, very small percentage of their range here. We just want to bet for value. And when I say bet for value, that just means essentially we want to get paid. So they call. Turn comes down with the 7 of spades. Decent card. This is a card below our pair. So once again, against a recreational player, a fishy player, there's no reason to get tricky here. There's no reason to let our foot off the gas pedal. You just want to make another big bet here. Believe me, if they have anything good, they'll raise us at this point often, but they go ahead and make the call again. So what can this player have? Well, once again, guys, it's a fish. I'm still not willing to give them a whole lot of credit yet. A lot of fish here honestly just won't fold an ace deuce or a pocket fours. Maybe they're on tilt. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. So anyways, the river comes down with another harmless brick card, the 3 of diamonds. Sometimes I will decide to make another bet here again, probably around 50% of the time, to be honest. In this situation, we choose to just check. It's definitely a little bit thin at this point, and I expect them to just check behind with all of their hands like a pocket fours and ace deuce that we just talked about, but instead they decide to bet big. Guys, this is a classic sign of a big hand. That's what sandbagging means, by the way. This is the kind of player who just called us pre-flop with a hand like pocket kings, which hit a full house on the flop, or ace king, or pocket aces, and they're gonna slow play it the whole way because they saw Phil Hellmuth do that once in $1 million cash game. Guys, never fall for this nonsense. This is a classic fishy play. Guys, remember, there was no flush draw and there was no straight draw on the flop. There's no reason that this player should have been calling us the whole way. They are sandbagging a monster here most of the time. Also remember that most fishy players are passive. Once again, they're just going to check behind here with their pocket fours. They're never going to make a big bet. They're doing this with the nuts. Don't fall for this. All right, guys, let's move on to fishy poker player number 4 now, and that is chasing every draw. Now, I'm sure that you've seen this one before. This is one of the most classic signs of a fish. Let me give you an example. Once again, you raise it up with ace 4 of hearts, and once again, one of our fishy friends calls. So the flop comes down with the 7 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, and queen of spades. Not really the flop we were looking for. In fact, we have nothing at all on this flop. However, we do have ace high, and we know that our opponent in poker is always going to miss the flop roughly 2 out of every 3 times. So as I've discussed many, many times here on the channel, it is simply a profitable play here to make a bet most of the time, but they call. Now, it's really important to understand that this flop is totally different than the one in the previous example, the king 5-5 rainbow in the previous example. This is not that board. This is a 7-8 queen with 2 diamonds, a highly coordinated board with multiple straight draws, a clear flush draw, of course, with the diamonds. A hand like 10-9 has an open-ended straight draw. A hand like 6-5 has an open-ended straight draw. Heck, 9-6 is an open-ended straight draw. Fish play that hand as well. And once again, if they have any 2 diamonds in their hand, they have the obvious flush draw. So there is a lot more going on this board. We expect to be ahead a lot of the time with our ace high because they're just chasing a draw, so they called. So the turn comes favorable for us with the ace of clubs. Now, oftentimes, if I don't catch a really good card like that, which gives us top pair, I will slow down here and just check. But against a recreational player, you always want to keep your foot on the gas pedal and bet for value. Once again, that means we are trying to get paid. We have a strong belief that we have the best hand here, and we will have the best hand here most of the time. We just nailed top pair on the turn, so you bet they call. So once again, guys, I'm not super concerned at this point. We already talked about just how many draws there were on the flop. There's so many. And what do we know about fish? Well, once again, they chase every single draw. They never give up. So river comes down with the deuce of hearts, the ultimate brick on the river. You decide to check and they bet big. Now, once again, guys, I will mix it up here on the river. Sometimes I will bet in this situation, but I actually really like checking here because it really opens the door for one of these fishy players to bluff their missed draw, which they're going to do a lot of the time in this spot. Remember, guys, a lot of the time here, they're going to have a hand like 10-9, 6-5, 9-6. Those were all straight draws on the flop. Every single one of those hands has missed, and every single one of those hands knows that that there's no way they're winning this pot if they check behind. Also, the diamond draw, of course, missed by the river. So guys, this is a classic situation where you just want to call them down. There's no point in raising here, by the way, because on that 2% of the time when they do actually have a massive hand like pocket eights or ace queen or something like that, we're just going to get snap called or they're going to shove all in. So there's really no value for us at all here to be re-raising, but you absolutely just want to make the call here. And I really like this line on the river, especially if the fish is an aggressive player type at all. They're going to bluff their misdraw here a lot. All right, guys, poker mistake number 5 is they tilt like crazy. Now, you guys have seen this one so many times. 2 bad beats in a row and the fish is losing their mind. They're raising up every single hand. So when I know I'm up against a player like that, I'm definitely going to make some adjustments. Let me give you an example once again. A fish on tilt raises it up. And by the way, tilting is just the act of being frustrated because you got unlucky a couple times, which is going to happen to everybody all the time at the poker table. Is a very, very common experience. But a lot of recreational players, they really get their ego involved in the game and it really frustrates them and they start playing poorly very quickly. So I'm going to make the call here with a hand like ace 10. This is not a hand that I normally actually call with. Sometimes I will fold with this hand. Sometimes I'll actually re-raise with this hand. I made a video just last week talking about that. But in this situation versus a fish on tilt, I'm going to call them wide pre-flop with a hand like this, hoping to hit a pair and using the strategy, which I'm going to show you right now. So we do manage to hit top pair in this situation. Flop comes down with the ace of diamonds, 8 of spades, and deuce of diamonds. They bet, you call. This is a spot where there's not really any point in raising. I don't want to get into one of those situations where a wild, crazy player who's emotional on tilt is going to try to bluff me all in with a hand like 5-4 or something like that. So you just want to call here, guys. You do not want to raise, and this is all about just giving them the rope. We know they're on tilt. We know they're playing emotional. We know they're likely to be bluffing here a large majority of the time. We have top pair, which is a great spot, but we don't even have the best kicker. A 10 is pretty good, but it's not amazing. We're still beat here by ace king, ace queen, ace jack. So this is a standard spot where you just want to call. Turn comes down with the 4 of hearts. They bet. What should you do? Once again, guys, exact same logic. First things first, we're never folding. We still have top pair here, but there's absolutely no point in raising because we know that this player doesn't have anything most of the time, and maybe once again 2% of the time they have a monster. There's absolutely no value for us at all in raising here. We just want to go ahead and make the call again. River comes down with the king of spades. They bet again. Now, guys, under any normal circumstances, I would highly suggest folding my hand at this point. This player's shown a tremendous amount of strength throughout this hand, but once again, this is a fish on tilt. This is a player who we know is playing emotional. They've just gotten unlucky in a few hands, so you want to call them down here and let them flip over their 5-4 or their 7-8 or their pocket sixes or whatever nonsense they've decided to triple barrel bluff us with. And by the way, knowing how to beat the fish is one of the most valuable strategies you can learn, and I talked about that just last week in a video I'll leave right here. All right, guys, like and subscribe if you found this one helpful. All the best at the poker tables.